hereby call this meeting of the Fangirls Club to order. I'm Haley.
I'm Brielle.
Hello, Brielle.
Hello. This week we are going to start off our full review and recap of Crescent City, House of Flame and Shadow.
Whoop, whoop. This hefty piece of literature right here.
Yes. We'll do our recap and our thoughts, but we're also going to go through and kind of do overall review of the book because there is so much that happens in this thing.
Yes.
So I think it'll be fun to we literally just read it, a month ago? And still going through all of this and like writing my notes and doing the recap. I was like, wow, I forgot about all of
It's hard. A lot of books, especially like I guess as we're finishing up the SJM Universe and we're tying in some pieces from other books into this one, but there's a lot of new information in this book.
Yes.
Some of it really, you can't retain all of it.
I know.
Reading it once.
Yeah.
You can't possibly. So
I can't possibly.
it's a lot to go over.
Yes.
But I'm excited because I really loved this book.
I think we'll do our best to make it through there's 3 parts in the book. So I think tonight we'll do our best to make it through part 1. Maybe some of part
Yeah,
2.
we'll
See how much we chit chat, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So either this will be in 2 parts or 3 parts because there's that much to go over.
And it ties in so much that, and I think it's a celebration, of us finishing the Sarah J Maas universe, a huge part of our 2024 into 2025. And it's what brought us together in this internet space.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Me too. But before we jump into all that, super quick, Haley.
Yes.
What did you fangirl over this week?
This week, oh my gosh. So this was a monumentous weekend. We had a long weekend. It was a holiday weekend. And thank goodness, because there was a lot of new TV on. Thursday, we had New Traders. And then Friday, we had Severance. We got Yellow Jackets came back. Love is Blind dropped. And then White Lotus also came out, but I haven't watched that yet. And then School Spirits, which is a show that I want you to get into.
I know, yes,
so good.
Yes. What is that on?
Paramount Plus. Okay. Which is also where Yellow Jackets is. Okay. But anyway. And we sort of talked about Severance before, but I think, Love is Blind came out on Valentine's Day. So I was really excited about that to come back.
Everyone's calling it Love is Blind this season.
And it is. I don't understand it.
I know. They did not need 6 episodes of pods. Too much.
That's too many episodes of pods, especially when the one couple amounted to absolutely nothing. And we learned.
Which one?
Madison and...
Mads pissed me.
Madison, Mason, and...
Alex. I liked Alex.
Was it Alex?
Yeah, I liked Alex.
I thought not David.
No, I think they're all named David, though, if I'm being honest.
Alex, David, Mason. Alex looks exactly like... Who's the other one? It looks just
the
like
one
in
that
the
really
short,
likes Christmas.
The one who's like Short King.
Yeah, he likes Christmas.
I don't know his name.
Me neither.
Matt, John.
I don't know.
Joe.
Keep going.
Bob.
I don't know.
Billy.
I don't know.
All right. Well, they all look identical.
Yeah.
All the guys specifically.
Yeah.
And that already pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because
I should have started taking notes because I got lost. I needed my own notebook for watching this season.
Yeah.
So far.
I just could not keep track.
Now that we're going to be out of the pods, like once they drop the next set of episodes, I think. I'm worried that they did so many pod episodes, though, of like maybe there's not that much drama that happens afterwards or like later that they had to fill it with pod stuff because they showed so much of 2 couples that didn't even leave the pods.
Yeah, and sure, maybe
which
we'll
they've
see
never
them again.
done that.
They've never done that. Especially
Focused
Madison.
that much? Yeah, yeah.
We knew.
And Mason. Like he had Mads and Meg.
Madison, we learned her entire life story.
Which is very confusing.
Listen.
Because I think she contradicted herself a couple times.
Yes.
Or maybe I'm just being mean and judgmental, which is highly probable. But like, there's things that she said. I was like, those two things don't make any
together.
sense. No.
Everything has happened.
I know.
And listen.
I know.
I love a trauma dump just as much as the next person. And we're sounding judgmental, but I don't understand. I just don't get why did they show all of that?
Yeah, and then we don't
just to never see her again. I mean, we're gonna see her with bright pink hair eventually.
That was odd. Yeah.
So I don't know.
We'll see.
I just feel like it's filler. Like it's a lot of filler. And we've had seasons like this in the past.
But I love it every time.
I know. We're always drawn right back in.
Even if there was still 3 more episodes of Pods, I would still be sad. Like, I'm going to complain about it, but I will still watch every single second.
I know. But all that said, we love our reality. And to go from like, it's just amazing. Whether it comes out, I guess it's coming out on Fridays now. Yeah. So we get Traders, which is like the highest of quality reality television. To Love Is Blind, which is like I can like turn my brain completely off and just like enjoy this for what it is, which is amazing.
Reality,
both amazing. But yeah, Traders, so good.
This last week, the scene of Tom when he was standing at the statue, like.
I hate Tom Sandoval, first of all. I hate him, but I can't say that he isn't entertaining.
Him saying women are better cheaters is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
And everyone clocking him. Everyone like,
it's so good.
I know. Have you thought about who you might, like a couple people you would want in your perfect ideal Traders cast?
I did.
We could do a whole thing about this later on.
I think maybe once we finish this, we should do
just something stupid, like
maybe like something. I don't know. Yeah, maybe we should think about it because we can talk about more Love Is Blind. We can talk about Traders. Yeah, maybe we should
a reality recap.
Jump to that'd be fun. We haven't done that. Mm-hmm. We'll think about that. Okay. But yeah, I was gonna say we should both put together like our dream Traders cast. Cause how funny would that be? Mine would just be all Big Brother people.
Well, that's what would be funny about our casts because mine would be all like
Love Is Island.
Love Is Island. Mine would be all Love Island. Vanderpump Rules, and yours is like Big Brother.
It would just be Big Brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
But your top?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know? You've got favorites.
Frankie Grande would definitely be hysterical.
Frankie is meant. Yeah. I thought of Frankie too.
Really? Mm-hmm. I feel like that's the first one that comes to my head because he was so entertaining on Big Brother in general.
I also said Michael because I want to see Michael again. And he's such a good player. God. I feel like he'd be really cute on the Traders.
Oh, he killed it.
Okay, we'll go into this. It's a separate video for sure. What did you fangirl over this week?
Yeah, it was Severance, Love Is Blind, both like really Severance. I'm like, it's all I can think about.
I know
the theories. Like my brain is like, I feel like I need to go in the detective mode every time I watch it. We need to talk
more about it because like I go to work and I have a couple of coworkers that I talk to about it, but they keep hitting me with the, well, I don't want to read too deep into the theories and all that, and I'm like, how can you not? I want to drive myself crazy.
It's like one of the most brilliant shows.
Every single avenue possible and uncovering every single scenario.
It's like I think all Swifties would love Severance.
Yeah.
Because all they ever want to do is like hunt for every Easter egg ever. Like she wears a green shoe and they're like, "Oh my god." But like that's how the show feels. Like
they could really crack
the color of a singular thing that someone might be wearing could mean something so big and like we don't know it yet, or like the tiniest thing is just so important in the show, and it just when you're watching it, you pay attention to every little thing, and I'm just like so enamored. It's brilliant.
We're severed in the tortured poets department. I'm just glad we have Helly back.
Yes.
But I'm pissed that they're all sort of isolating themselves from each other.
Because they all are trauma. Like, oh my God, it's so sad.
So much happens, and yet all I come out of there, we only come out with more answers every single episode.
More questions?
I'm sorry. Yes, we only come out.
I was going to say, because I have not gotten a single answer.
No, that's what I meant to say. Okay. Like, there's so much that happens every episode, and we only have more questions.
Yeah. But yes, so those two, obviously. But I saw Captain America.
You saw it?
Yes.
Okay, and
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it for what it was. I always really like Marvel's like more low-key
Yeah.
type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked the Falcon Winter Soldier show.
Right.
So this led right into it. So it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked definitely certain things that they focused on. Of like teasing future things.
Bucky?
He was
Oh.
mentioned.
Oh.
Sure.
Loki?
Loki was not there. Something
all
to
I
do with the
care
big.
about.
It's the first time anyone's mentioning the big celestial that pops up in the middle of the water from Eternals. But literally zero mention of any Eternals. So they were just
Marvel hates me
scrapped
in all my faves.
I know.
It's rude.
It's rude.
It's so rude. They gave me Loki though, so it's fine.
So it was really cool,
Good.
and then I had some things tied into the original, like the Incredible Hulk, before Mark Ruffalo, like
Oh, really?
the Hulk movie. So it was
Mhm.
cool to have some of that. Like there's pictures of Liv Tyler popping up,
What?
and we're like, oh, look at her, because she's his daughter. Now the president's daughter.
Holy crap.
Anyway,
So she's Harrison Ford's daughter? Cool.
I enjoyed it.
Good. Yay.
I have things, but now's not the time.
No. Not with
But
me.
it was really
It's
fun.
wasted on me, unfortunately.
You have to watch the show. I think
I
you
do
would
need
like
to.
it.
I
I think
know.
you would like
It's
it.
the one show that I haven't watched. Not true.
Okay.
But
Daredevil's out next month.
I
though.
know. Oh, I thought about it today. Because I think I passed like a billboard for it. And
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, I just got all
More starting
excited.
to pop up. And I saw the new trailer for Thunderbolts before it.
Oh, cool.
And it looks really good. I'm excited.
Yeah. Hell yeah. It'll be fun to see a big group again,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
That'll be exciting. We both finished. Well, you finished Iron Flame a while back. In the last couple weeks, we've finished Iron Flame, and now we're both reading Onyx Storm. Are you almost done?
I'm halfway.
Halfway? Okay. I just started.
I don't want to end it, though.
That's going to be tough. It's going to be another ACOTAR feeling of like,
Now we have to wait.
yeah.
And everyone says there's like a big cliffhanger at the end. And I haven't gotten spoiled yet, so obviously thankful. But I'm
Thank
like, I
God.
don't want to have to do that.
I know.
Don't leave me off with something
I
like
did
that.
get a spoiler.
Oh, no. For Onyx Storm?
Yes.
Aww.
But I don't, but it's sort of vague. So it's
questionable.
It's something that I'm like, but
Interesting.
I don't know. Anyway,
Gotcha.
but now
Oh,
we have to go back
rewind.
go back in time
Okay.
to Midgard and go back to Midgard
I know.
and
One last time.
well, we got like
Well,
who knows how many more videos we'll have to make for this book.
to get through this book.
House of Flame and Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we want to start this? Do we want to do like our ratings?
Yeah,
or-
that's how we started the other two.
I think so. It's gonna be a 5-star read for me.
5-star.
Yes, I loved this book from top to bottom. I don't care what people say about the ACOTAR crossover. I love it, and I give it a 5-star read because
5
stars. I was touched, truly touched by this book, like top to bottom. And I think it's like the most that I've cried reading any of her books. I think I would venture to say that I was more emotional like reading a lot of parts in this than like some of Throne of Glass, like Kingdom of Ash even. Just comparing it to that one series, I guess. I think like Hunt was just, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I think it was a beautiful way to wrap up Bryce's story, if that's where or wherever it ends in this book, wherever she goes after this, we'll see. But for this main storyline, I don't know. I thought it just wrapped up really well. And I loved all the twists and turns. There were so many. And it just felt like such a crazy adventure. I fell in love with Lydia like so hard.
Lydia.
And I love her and Rune and their journey.
That's really good.
I loved it.
That's crazy.
I sped through it. I read it in less than a week.
I'm so intrigued to find out what your full SJM books rankings will be.
These will be high.
Yeah.
I think Bryce is like, she might be, she's definitely up there in my favorite FMCs ever.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would give it a 3.25.
3.25?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
I love these characters.
Yes.
And I think a lot of it was also just like a continuation of loving them from the first 2 books too.
Yeah.
My brain, I got very overwhelmed.
I know.
I think was my only, like,
Yeah.
there's not a part of it. I didn't not enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think I got scared at some points.
Yes.
And I think that was just like
It was
not that I really would know, or I don't know what I was expecting, especially looking at it. Look how enormous of a book it is. Like,
yes.
You figure going into it, you're like, okay, wow, we're
in for it.
Yeah. But I think learning all the additional background of like her heritage and like her background and where she got her power from and why it happened, and that they're now from a different world, like all of that like really took me for quite
Yes.
the loop. And I think not that it lost me, but at that point I was trying to figure out where the why was. Obviously her background is important, but like some of it was such heavy background that I got confused as to where we were still going.
I definitely feel that, and it's almost like some of it could have been shared in Sky and Breath somehow, just
I don't know
to
if we
give
needed
Bryce
all of
that
it.
motivation to like search for that for herself.
Yeah, and I guess the assumption or the question is like, is there gonna be, maybe not, obviously we know Bryson Hunt's story is wrapped up, she has said that.
Yeah.
But are there going to be somewhat side stories or continuations of some other side characters? Is that why? Like, there was a couple side plot lines in this one that I was like, I don't know if they needed to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I got, like, I love Ethan, especially after, like, the first 2 books. Like, he was one of my favorite characters. But this one, I was like, I don't know. The Sigrid stuff really, I think lost. I think that was the thing that I was the most like, I
get that, especially when it amounted to like, who knows? I think I left with the hope of like, she could blow up the stories of a couple of these characters and really like continue their journeys like full throttle. Will she? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I do think like, my God, she carved this world out, and like, this might be the most involved world that she's made.
Yes.
And I love it. I love Lunathian, and we only really know that city. And there's so much of it. And you could say the same about her other worlds, but I don't know. This one there's so much lore, and like, she's dives into so much detail about all the political aspects of it and all this. So
I guess we might see in the next ACOTAR book what the point was. But I think wrapping up this one, I'm still missing what the crossover point was. Why Nesta? If her story wrapped up, her book is done. She has said like the next stories will be love story, like couples, but like in one book. Like she has said that like Nesta's story was this book. So the assumption is it will be Elaine's story next. Like, obviously that means Nesta will be around, but for the most part, that's Nesta's story and it was wrapped up. So like, why focus so much on Nesta in this?
Other than her being the bearer of
the dread trove.
Yeah.
And then like, why like he literally said maybe a sentence. It's like, why was he there? Like, I'm like waiting for,
I guess because they are the two that have they each have the tangible connections to Bryce with the dagger.
Oh, just with the dagger.
Oh, dagger,
that's why.
and the mask.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I guess would be the only.
Yeah, because Bryce is now part maid because of her horn tattoo.
Yeah.
So I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
To dive into, yeah.
Yeah. I was waiting for the big, that's why like the crossover is so important. But I think maybe the whole point is that it's still kind of a left open question for ACOTAR.
Yeah, and well, another thing that happens towards the end, like in the end of the book, that we'll have to talk about another time, but the change in Nesta, we see this kind of
been a change in me.
they do focus a lot
that
on
she's like best friends with her mom
Bryce
now.
and Nesta's relationship.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Anyway, I guess we should just dive into it. Because that's essentially, aside from the prologue, which we should talk about, that's where we're going to start off anyway.
What happened in the prologue?
The prologue starts with the Hind, Lydia, and Pollux are in this like grand meeting with the Asteri and the two
Bryce's dad.
kings.
Oh, the two fake kings.
The two fake kings.
Okay.
And basically the Asteri are questioning them, and the Fae Kings are like, we don't give a fuck about our kids.
Oh, yeah. Disowned.
The Autumn King is like, I don't care what you do with Rune. He deserves anything he gets. But there is a little part where he kind of is like, well, where's Bryce though? She's not in this world anymore. They hint at her being not on Midgard anymore, and that catches the Autumn King's attention, and he kind of goes a little quiet. So that's like a moment where you're like, And I guess I related that to him doing his whole like
all his research,
solar system research. Yeah,
just
like
kind of
nerdy.
like, he just like has a lot.
I picture like the Beast. The Autumn King is like the Beast in his castle with his like little trinkets and like his rose, and he's just like with his
grumpy.
So that's kind of the prologue. And then Hind and the Pollux and Lydia go down to where our boys are being tortured. The boys are chilling, being tortured.
Hanging out.
And basically, it's a lot of Lydia, like her in the best way she can, like getting Pollux to not
kill
them. She's convincing them that like they need to keep them alive, and then she's trying to connect with Rune, but he won't have anything to do with her.
Put
obviously,
his mental walls up. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna be so good at this.
Here we go. The cool thing, though, I do love when the next book picks right up.
Thank God.
From the last one, you know?
Yes.
So it truly picked right up.
Chapter 1 starts with Bryce.
She's being interrogated.
At the night court.
By everyone.
Yep. Who's there? So Nesta. No, she's not there yet.
No.
Amren and Reese and Az.
We jump over to the Asteri's palace, too. Immediately, we find out that there are 1,000 mystics.
Yeah.
Down in the lower levels. The Asteri are, like, forcing them all to try and look for Bryce out in the universe. Because all they know is that she's not on this planet.
Yeah.
But it was just, like, a wild discovery to find out that they have 1,000 of them down there.
Crazy.
And they're just trying to find Bryce. Like, it's so important to the Asteri that they find her.
Well, he's also looking for the night court the Prythian specifically.
They've always been looking for
Prythian, right.
Or a way to get back there.
Right.
They don't have any inkling that that's where she would have been.
No.
Though.
Right.
They just know she's, like, not there. Anyway, So yeah, in Prythian, Bryce... It was funny, like, reading this part because, like, Bryce's hatred towards Faye in general, like, really don't lead her well in this situation.
No.
Because she's automatically kind of sassy and just mean to them all because she just hates Faye.
And she's just, she doesn't know how to be diplomatic at all. She's not, which is not her fault. And, like, not that she has to be.
She shouldn't have been, before this.
But, she's just herself, which is what is so endearing about her, but it does not aid her. You're right. In this interrogation with Reese, specifically, who we know him and love him more than anything, we know him as like this loving.
Ruler. I mean, she immediately notes like, oh, he must be in charge. Like she can just tell.
Yeah, because he knows how to turn it on.
Yeah.
And also, Az and Amren are looking to him constantly, so she sees like, oh, he must be, a king or something.
Yeah.
She doesn't know. She has no idea, which is so cool.
That he's a king.
He's a king. And she also, the first thing she notices is how much he looks like Rune.
So
she's
good.
like freaked out. He looks so much like Rune.
So good.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, so the interrogations are kind of funny because neither of them want to talk. She's saying, can you please just tell me where the fuck I am? And they just like look at her and go, where did you come from? And they're both just like neither of them want to answer each other's questions because obviously they don't trust each other.
Az cannot understand her because he doesn't speak the old language, which is to them what Bryce speaks.
To them, they both are speaking an old language, which is funny.
Mm-hmm. Basically, they get to a point where Bryce feels comfortable enough kind of telling them not why she's here, because she didn't mean to end up in Prythian, but she does eventually start to tell them about the Asteri and how they had conquered their world 15,000 years ago. Amren recognizes that story. And she's like, she can confirm that that's true. And so there's that connection with the Asteri invading and Prythian eventually like kicking them out, essentially.
Yeah, but at first Rhys was like, I don't think that's true. Like, that doesn't seem right. And then Amren is like, no, they're actually, like, we refer to them as, like, the Daglin. And he immediately, like, knows exactly what she's talking about. So,
which we do, too, because we've experienced them talking about the Daglin before.
I was going to say, like, do we know that?
Yeah.
What did they say about it?
I don't know, but I remember the name.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
100%.
I don't really remember that much.
Yeah.
So they kind of go on about that for a little bit.
Rhys does ask to, like, can I, like, read your... Can I confirm this by, like, reading your mind? And she's like, no.
I know, but he was so nice about it.
Yeah, well, he's Rhys. Rhys brings the Veritas orb, gives her the ability to share the information that she wants with them. And so she's able to share information about the weaponry on Midgard and like their modern advanced weapons or whatever, just to show Rhys what Midgard is fighting against. And he also gives her that little tablet to swallow so that she can understand and he can understand her.
It's just like a little bean.
The last notable thing, I guess, is that swallowing that tablet is painful and it causes her to like pass out a little bit, and that exposes her back. And so Amren sees her tattoo and exclaims that the language is like indicates that it was made.
Is it the same language? Is it the written language of what they're speaking? Or was it just another different ancient language?
It's an ancient language from the book of Breathings, which is the book that Amren was training Nesta in. And that just indicates that that's where Nesta's going to come in. We last left off with Therion communicating himself from his queen and everyone, and is now serving the Viper Queen.
Yeah, so he has agreed to work for her, as in just be one of her fighters. But then that's also where we learned that Ari
Dragon,
had also decided to do the same thing. So he's like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I've been here. And he's like, okay, I guess we're both here now. And like, that's his world now. And he's just like, knows nothing outside of it. Like, he has no contact with anyone or anything. He's just kind of losing it in there.
Yeah, he's trapped. He's pretty much trapped in there. And we've got Ethan, Flynn, Declan, Mark, and the girls.
Sprites.
Kind of looking for him, no? And they're questioning people in the meat market.
Yeah, because that's where you go to like find things out. Because that's what Bryce did a bunch of times throughout the other two books too.
Yes.
You know, they would like walk around the meat market trying to like overhear stuff, or that's where you go to like ask people, or you try to trade stuff for information. And they're just trying to figure out if they can hear any lead on where Bryce is, because they also really don't know. They're also trying to figure out if Rune and Hunt are even alive, because they also don't know.
They're completely in the dark, because I assume, right, Deck and Flynn only had access to the cameras, right? They weren't part of any escape at that point. And so those went dark, and now they don't know anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're trying to just search for any information.
They're also trying to like figure out what the hell's going on with Therion, like inside too. Like they haven't seen him or like gone in. Like they're just like kind of sitting there just like
exactly
a little stuck. That's when we also jump back over to Bryce too.
In chapter 3.
And they kind of like leave her in the room alone.
Because Nesta comes in and she's like confirmed that tattoo is made. And so then they're like, bye.
Yeah, they know. I guess they're like just changing up their tactics.
Yeah.
So like we're just going to like leave her to suffer in here for a little bit. To her, like she has no idea how long it's been. Like it feels like days. She's just like sitting there alone in this interrogation room.
Yeah.
And she eventually just kind of like is like, okay, well, I need to get the hell out of here. And she like looks through like this grate at the bottom of the floor, and she hears like monsters and shadows and like creepy noises coming from it.
Yeah.
But she decides to risk it And because of the little bean they gave her, it like gave her a little bit of like some juice.
Yeah.
So she's going to try to use up that juice to winnow down the grate.
Mm-hmm.
And hope that the little creepy monster thingies like don't get to her.
Yes.
And once she goes down into the cave, her star starts to glow.
And therefore, the monsters don't
Bother her.
mess with her.
Yeah.
She's going to jump down and see what happens. Whatever.
She had to leave.
Yeah, she's got to get out of there. So, yeah, she's going to go find her way out, hopefully, through that cave. And back at the meat market, they come across Sabine. Ethan and Deck and gang. And Sabine sees Sigrid. She basically just sees Sigrid and she's like, you look just like your father. So this is the first we're seeing of Hunt and Baxian and Rune since they were thrown in the dungeons. They've been being tortured for a while. We know that Hunt has the tattoo across his brow again, and he's now owned by the Asteri completely. Pollux comes in with Hawk, and they're just interrogating them.
Mm-hmm.
Rune's shutting Lydia out some more. Then this is sort of the part where Sabine basically tells Sigrid that she had her sister killed, and then they get in this huge fight, and one of the guys shoots Sabine in the face, and that causes a huge issue with the Viper Queen.
After that, we see Lydia asks if she can have permission to talk to someone that she knows that's also downstairs with the rest of the mystics.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that one of them is Erithis, who was the queen of the sprites. So she wants to try and talk to her, and she just kind of disguises it as like, I think this is something that we could use to either help with torture and or I want to talk to her more about if she can specifically help us with Bryce.
Yeah.
And finding her and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
We jump back over to Bryce in the dungeons. And of course, that's where we find that she thinks she escapes and was all on her lonesome. But Nesta is just following her and is there with her.
Mm-hmm.
She instantly keeps trying to like be buddy with her, and Nesta's just like obviously not having it. And I just love this part because she keeps saying like, oh, we're gonna be friends, but obviously they don't trust her for a reason, but she doesn't trust them either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just innately, again, because she just doesn't like any of the Fae.
And also Bryce loves when people don't put any faith in her. Like she relishes in people like doubting her her ability to do things, because she'll kind of take that and like turn it around and mess with people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that back and forth with her and Nesta. But I also love that she observes Nesta and really just thinks that she's a warrior. Mm-hmm. Like she just sees Nesta as like this supreme like badass, which is cool because, we've seen Nesta in many different forms, I feel like now. So it's fun to see her in this like powerful position.
And like have more of a comfort in what she is now.
Exactly.
Silver Flames, like we just saw her training.
Yeah, it feels like she has a place. Mm-hmm. And obviously now we're seeing the court really trusts her.
Giving her,
to handle this mission or whatever. So yeah, they're gonna frolic through the cave for a little while.
They really do, though.
It's a long it's this entire part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a big thing with all of this part is the like carvings,
yes,
paintings that she sees on the wall.
Yes,
and she, in her POV, is clearly noting all of them. And in her mind, at least, kind of like talking through them. And but she isn't explaining to Nesta what any of it looks like or is. Because Nesta's like, oh, what are you looking at? She's like, look at all these carvings. And that was about it. Mm-hmm. She was like, oh, my job used to, I'm used to looking at old archived art and old languages and things like that. So this is interesting to me. But that's all she says to her.
She's keeping it on the DL for herself.
But then she kind of spoils it at one point because Nesta's going to she almost walks into like a booby trap.
Mm-hmm.
situation and freaks Nesta out at first because she like grabs her or something, and Nesta's like,
what are you doing? Touch me.
But she's like, sorry, you almost died.
Yeah.
And then so she kind of tells her like, oh, on this carving it looks like you might get hit with like a bunch of spears, so I was trying to save your life. And then so Nesta like throws something in the cave or shoots power,
and it's true.
And then it like triggers it, and then she's like, oh,
how did you know that?
Yeah, and then it looks more sketchy.
Yeah.
That she told her that. Obviously, she saved her, and she says thanks, but now she's like, oh, well, you've been looking at these carvings the whole time and, like, reading stuff that you aren't telling me.
Yeah. They keep walking a little bit, and then they come across this, like, gaping sort of, like, chasm, and there's just, like, a tiny little bridge going across, and they see all these, like, bat-like creatures flying ahead, and then all of a sudden, a giant Midgard worm comes out of the water and is attacking these bats. So that makes Bryce wonder, and like hearing the term Midgard worm again, because obviously that's the creature Feyre fights in A Court of Thorns and Roses. That was cool to see that again, even though I'm like, ooh, scary.
I know that there was even another one.
Another one, yeah. And Bryce makes this connection too. It's Midgard worm. Bryce is from Midgard, so she's like, I wonder if like these creatures like
it's
originated
like extra,
there.
Almost confirmation for her that she's the whole time she's been thinking, I think this is where we came from. So when she sees that, it's like another thing that she's like, whoa.
Like, am I actually of the same world as these creatures? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then somehow we segue into a conversation between Bryce and Nesta, and they get to talking about how that Thea, who is Bryce's ancestor, was High Queen.
In this book, we find out at least
or
that
we find it out.
they were the last. Her direct relatives that she learns about in this book, they were the last High King and Queen. Because that becomes the whole drama later that we find out about this ancestry.
Oh, God.
Yeah, because that's where she sees all the warnings and all the stories and labels, and she's eventually like just trying to piece it all together.
Lots of tunnels.
They're like sleeping down there. Like it's been like
days. They're down there for a long time.
Lots of caves. And then eventually, Nesta is trusting her now because they're already stuck down there.
Yeah.
Her star is glowing. And it glows more when she faces in a certain direction.
Right.
So Bryce is like, I'm going to go down and through this cave. I don't care how long it takes me. I'm following the star. And Nesta's like, okay, fine. Let's go. They eventually come to like a river.
Yeah.
And Bryce's star glows very, very bright. And they're not going to be able to get across the river. So Bryce goes, all right, see you on the other side. And she just like jumps in. It takes her downstream for a little bit. And she eventually comes to like a pool to the side that she like swims over to. Nesta's like, oh, shit. She has to jump in and follow her no matter what. She gets in there. They both make it off down the river a little bit to the side. And Nesta's pissed because they're soaking wet. They're cold. And she's like, why the hell did you jump into the water? She's like, there's nothing else we can do. We had to go in. And that's when Nesta's like, we literally just could have flown across. Yeah. And Bryce is like, what the hell do you mean we could have flown across? No, what are you talking about? And that's when Nesta just goes, okay, like, you can come out.
And Azriel shows up.
And they find out the whole time that he's just been following them. Hi. Just to, like, also keep Nesta safe, I guess. Yeah. So I thought that was funny in terms of, like, this whole time we think they're finally sending Nesta on like this grand solo mission, and she was not by herself at all. And of course, true. Az is just kind of like chaperoning her.
And I think they try and play. You could play it off as like, oh, they needed his specific skills, you know, whatever. But I do think it's probably, if we were to get a POV of like Reese or whatever, it's like we need to watch Nesta too, because like I don't think there's ever. That's always going to be a part of their relationship, I think. So it's funny. It's a funny, like, layer to it.
They sent Nesta because she could probably do a better relationship with Bryce.
Yeah.
/ she understands what being made might feel like or is. So obviously it was helpful for her to go.
So now we have this unlikely trio of Nesta, Az, and Bryce. And there's, like, a funny, like, awkward stretch of time where they're walking through the tunnels all together, and they keep asking each other questions, like mainly Nesta and Bryce. Like, Bryce is asking them about if they have, like, veneer in this world, if they know what they know about the Daglin / Asteri, and like they keep going back and forth, and they keep answering each other with like, I don't really know. Like they don't know. They don't know.
Ignoring each other.
Nesta's asking like, are you like the Asteri because you both have like stars in you? And she's like, I don't really know. It's like, do you know why your tattoo is in this specific language?
Yeah.
And Bryce is like, I never
I
got
was
a
just
chance
drunk.
to ask my friend. Like, I don't know. She's dead. So it's just like, in that way, like this big crossover moment, there are times where you're like, okay, where is this going?
Yeah, like it seems like they don't even really have answers for each other.
Yeah.
So it's hard for them to get what each of them is trying to get.
Yeah.
So we're just reading it like, oh, interesting, because like there's just still for days in this cave.
Yeah.
But this whole time is when they keep noticing that Az is holding both the Star Sword and his dagger. His truth teller dagger, which we now know is the dagger, which is part of the prophecy this whole time from Crescent City, that once you put them together, it'll help them unite all Fae. And so this is what Bryce knows about these two things, and she's like, I think this is the dagger, and Az is like, no, this is my dagger. I'm like,
it's mine.
That's about what the conversation has been. But this whole time he's holding both of them, and he's like very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He's like twitching. There's just like this weird pull for like these two swords to be together,
Which we know, and those mannerisms are not him at all.
Yeah, Nesta keeps looking at him weird.
Yeah, Nesta
She's like,
specifically.
what are you doing? Like he's like
What are you
twitching, like
can
being
see
odd, and he's very uncomfortable and like moody about it.
They keep asking questions to each other. Bryce isn't giving them any answers. She's just like looking at these carvings and like trudging through, and then the worm shows up again.
For a reason.
The
whole time, and as noted it a little bit earlier, he was like, really weird, like your knee's healed. Like, why are your hands still bleeding? And she's like, I don't know. Again, just like a weird, I don't know. But this is when we discover that the whole time Bryce has been recutting open her hands and leaving her blood along the walls and everywhere because she wanted to lure the worm over to them.
Yeah.
And so the worm finds them because of her blood.
Yep.
Because she wants a distraction, because again, she's going to try and escape.
She's like, I'm out. I've had enough of these people not answering my questions.
Yeah.
And she's got to get home to hunt. So.
But she notes that, like, she knows that these two powerful people can take on the worm.
Right.
Like, she kind of puts it together that she's like, I trust that, like, it's not going to harm or kill them. I think they're going to be able to handle it. I just need a distraction. But I was still like, damn, you, like, sicked this giant worm onto them?
We know how nasty this thing is.
I know.
And so she's like, she's gonna do it. She's running off.
Yeah.
And then like she hears like the tiniest bit of them struggling, and she's like, no, I can't do this. She goes back and like helps them.
They faked their own
and
deaths.
then they flipped it on her. Yeah.
Because she hears like a yelp.
Yeah.
So she runs back and she's like, shit, oh my God. And Nesta's like laying there on the ground.
So dramatic.
And then so she goes over to help her. But Az is behind her, like, with the dagger. She faked her death.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, Nesta.
I know.
It's kind of rude.
It is rude. But that's Nesta. And we love her for it.
Oh, but that's when they all decide. So then they're like, okay, do we run? And Nesta's like, no, we need to get rid of this thing. So Az is like, yeah, let's kill it. We don't, like, want to leave it out and about. Let's just get rid of it. So the three of them fight the worm. And they want to use Bryce as bait, because she did it to herself. They're like, you'll be fine. And so basically they struggle like the tiniest bit, and it's just being difficult, and it pisses Nesta off. So she decides to pull the mask out of nowhere and put it on. And as we learned from Silver Flames, the mask is what leads to the death part, really, of the Dread Trove. And she can kind of control.
You can raise the dead.
Yeah. So she does.
So she reanimates the skeleton of
like
whatever that
a giant
body.
Yeah.
Creature, and that's what
she uses that to kill the worm.
Yeah.
So like a giant skeleton creature.
She's
thingy.
like, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'll just do this instead.
I thought it was really funny.
She just like shows off a little bit.
Yeah.
And also for us, because
It's fun.
now this is how we learn.
She still has
I guess
it.
Nesta still has this thing and
Yeah.
can casually use it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But she can't really control it too
Yeah.
well. So Az has to like convince her to like come back to reality, basically.
It's very like when people try to calm down like the Hulk.
Yeah.
They're like trying to say secret words to like help him relax, but like that's like really
Az
just
is like,
feels,
Cassian's home. He wants you to come home.
Yeah, and he's like, Nyx. And that's
Nyx
when
and
she
Gwen
finally
and Emery.
she finally takes it off
Yeah.
because of Nyx, which is cute. Because at the end of Silver Flames, we don't know if she has all her power, if she can still use all of that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool to see like, oh, she still has access to these things.
Definitely.
Interesting.
And if there are no real repercussions, I guess there's a chance she could not come back.
I think they can like overtake you very
Yeah.
easily.
But it's so
But she
cool.
whipped it out so casually
That's
for
what
this
I'm saying.
worm. So I was like, oh,
Exactly.
is it easier now or what?
I know.
Okay, while all this is happening, this is when the frat boys all finally meet up with, they decide to go into the Viper Queen's lair.
I don't know that they have a choice because of what they did to Sabine. So the Viper Queen is like,
Come on.
bring them up. Bring them up, and I got to figure out what to do with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then she was like, here you guys go. And Therion's just like chilling on a
Lets
couch.
them all gather. It's kind of strange.
And she was like, I'll let you catch up. Yeah.
yeah.
It's so casual sometimes, but
Kinda
she's also
casual and muddy.
terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't really get her.
She doesn't have like holding cells or anything of her own.
And she's always wearing like, I just imagine her as like Sue Sylvester in Glee, because she's always wearing tracksuits.
Does she really wear tracksuits?
Yes. So they all catch up, and basically it's just like a big discussion of, they all kind of fill Therion in on what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce is missing, blah, 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 blah. And Therion, no one knows yet. He tells them that Cormac died.
Yep.
They all didn't know.
Yep.
So they're all just kind of like sharing stories. And
Story time.
he's kind of like drugged out, because this is where we also learn that like
Oh,
the
she's
Viper Queen has like poisonous,
druggy venom.
addictive blood venom
Venom.
stuff.
Yeah, so he's like,
So she like
he's high
cuts
on
her,
it.
she like cuts her wrists, and they like
Yeah.
suck her something, and
Yeah.
it like calms them down and like keeps them
subdued. Yeah.
still under her.
Yes, it's one of her ways of controlling them.
Yes.
The guys also learn that Hunt and Rune and Baxian are in fact being tortured.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they're frantically like, we got to come up with a plan.
When someone shows up, and it's Lydia.
Oh my God. Right. Yeah, the Hind shows up and they're like, what?
They're like, what do
in
you
the
want?
hell? We can't
I
like,
know. So in that one moment, she has to tell them all what's going on, convince them that she's not actually absolutely evil. And so she tells
To
them,
work
I'm
together, yeah.
Agent Day. I think
Uh-huh.
Rune told you about me. And they're like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? And she tells them, look, I don't care if you don't believe me. I know you want to help rescue Rune.
mm-hmm.
So in 3 days, you need to be at this boat at this time, and I'm going to help them escape, and I need your help.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So everyone just gets a trauma dump and like,
In this little room.
a crazy little room.
Yeah.
And then so later while we're there, Ethan makes an agreement with the Viper Queen.
This is in an attempt to let Therion go, right?
Yeah, it's like I'll do this for you if you let him go.
I'll do you a favor.
Yeah.
And the Viper Queen, of course, is like, okay, I want you to fight someone of my choosing.
Yeah.
They're thinking about it, and they're like, well, you're probably gonna have to fight Ari.
Yeah.
Because that's her
Scary.
like prized possession. Like she's probably her most powerful. So Therion goes to Ari and is like, don't you dare kill him.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So that's when they're talking to the Viper Queen, and they're like, okay, when am I going to fight Ari? And she goes, oh, she doesn't work for me anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking about? She's like, she made a deal with someone else. So, like, she doesn't work for me anymore. So you're not going to be fighting her.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, okay. So then who am I fighting? And then she goes, of course, it's going to be the Fender Air.
So Ethan has to fight Secret, the very alpha wolf that he chose to quote unquote rescue and watch over. And so, yeah, this has gotten really messy really quickly.
It's just like, I can't with poor Ethan.
No.
Everything he tries to do, it just gets worse.
Yeah, he's like that clumsy boy who just like breaks everything. He gets enthusiastic and just like breaks everything.
I know. He truly just wants to help, and it never works.
Yes.
And it's really sad to read.
Yeah. So he's gonna have to kill her, essentially, is what this means, because we know the Viper Queen fights are like, you fight to the death.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's grappling with here. And he has to either do that. It's either her or save his friends, obviously. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
And so they like enter into this fight, and Ethan's like does not want to do this. Obviously, it's not in Ethan's nature. He's not going to kill this alpha.
But like she's so down.
But at first she tries to play him.
Yeah.
Which is when I was like, okay, F this, because she's like, thank you for saving me. Thank you for getting me out of there. Da, 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 da. And it's to distract him. And then she like literally goes for his jugular.
Yeah.
He blocks, and then like a few moves later, long story short, Ethan literally punches his claws through her throat. Because she moves out
too fast. She's like too fast.
She's super fast. She moves out of the way, and he just happens to get her right in that spot.
Yeah, he was like aiming for her shoulder,
yes.
but she dodged the wrong way, kind of, and then so he literally just like
punched through her throat.
Yeah, he like beheads her, right?
Yeah.
Like it.
Yeah, so she's dead.
He won.
But he won, and so now. And the Viper Queen, we know, doesn't go back. You know, if she makes a deal, she makes a deal. Mm-hmm. And so now we know at least the guys now have a chance of going and meeting up with Lydia, of all people, to go save Rune.
Yeah.
And the others.
You know, still decently early on in this book, and I'm just like, what did he go through all of that for then? Then just like kill. It was just like not what you're obviously expecting to happen. But I was just like, this poor kid cannot catch a break at all.
I keep thinking it's definitely not the ending I expected out of their relationship. Like he literally he did just rescue her. And so yeah, we were fully expecting this, like, I was expecting more of like a sibling-esque bond, and he was gonna start to rebuild his pack that he lost with her. And so this is the beginning of, because more stuff happens obviously with him, but yeah, this takes it in a turn that I wasn't expecting for him.
I know, it was nice to see him like actually win, but it was in a very, very bad case.
I know.
To wrap up like their part there, like they all get to leave.
Yeah.
And they're all getting in a car to go. And before they drive off, the three sprites like hit the car window. And they're like in a panic. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong? Oh, we almost forgot them. Get on in. They're like, go, go, go. They're like, what's happening? They're like, we just like caught the Viper Queen's lair on fire. Like, go. And they're like,
God damn it.
And so they all drive off like in a panic.
The sprites, I love them, but I'm also like,
they're so cute and messy.
I love them, but I miss Laba.
I know. So that's where all those dudes, frat dudes, all of them leave off part 1. And then just for like the other gang, for characters at the Asteri's Palace, this is where Pollux gets to meet up with Lydia real quick, and he's like getting dressed, like he's taking a shower, like he's like acting like a normal person.
Yeah,
and this was the first time we saw them like interact in this way. It was kind of weird. But this is where he just kind of drops the bomb to Lydia that like they're gonna try and bring the harpy back.
Yeah. And
she's like, I don't understand.
After Lydia killed her.
Yeah. She's like, how do you just bring, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I don't know, we're gonna like, he's close. He just needs like one more missing piece, and then I think he's gonna be able to bring her back. So she's panicking because she's the one that killed her.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of just like where we leave off on like that side of it too. So she's like, oh my God. So that was also another good little like drop for part 1.
Yeah, I liked that scene. It's like you see Pollux being a more like human-esque, like doing normal day-to-day stuff, but he's also just like so excited that they're gonna bring the harpy back, one of the most notorious killers.
I thought it was weird though too. I was like, I didn't know he was like so close to the harpy. Like he was like, oh, we're gonna get our friend back.
Yeah,
like,
he becomes oddly, he loves the harpy.
Yeah.
just all excited about it. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Maybe he thinks it's going to get a rise out of the Hind. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
So, yes, that's where they leave off. And obviously Hunt and Baxian and Rune are still in the dungeon, still being tortured.
Mm-hmm.
And that's everybody, I think, because we don't see Hypaxia in part 1.
We have some drama that Hunt sees, kind of, while he's down there. So we can talk about that next week.
Yeah.
As well as a conversation those 3 guys all have.
Oh, yeah.
Before the end. So there's 2 things that we'll go over with those dudes at the end of part 1. And then besides that, just what Bryce, Az, and Nesta kind of discover. Yeah. Finally, down in those caves.
Yes.
After days of darkness.
Unanswered questions and talks of how cell phones work and things like that. It's interesting.
Yeah, every once in a while when they then bring up a cell phone again, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Same, yeah.
Whoa.
I forget, too. Yeah, I think we will surmise the experience, the information gathering.
As best we can.
Yeah, we'll plan that out. But that's most of part 1. Yeah, and where everyone is at the beginning of Flame and Shadow. It's hard to summarize it all briefly because there are so many important things that happen that lead into other stuff too.
Woo, okay. Wow. So next week we'll finish up part 1 and then go over part 2. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. And this meeting of the Fangirls Club is adjourned. You're wrong.
Wrong arm. Bye.